The new pinnacle and the new most powerful series production Maserati is the Maserati Levante Trofeo, the SUV version as the performance car. Let's find out more about that in exterior, interior and the performance driving experience here today in Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. As you know, in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. There are two new versions with the new V8 engine under the hood. This is the GTS. We have a white car for that here today, just to compare, with more accentuations in vehicle color. And here the top trim version, the Trofeo, which is our main car for today. This one has those carbon fiber accentuations, for example, here in the lower spoiler. Be careful not to damage it with the pavement or something, because you know you cannot repair carbon fiber that well. Also more accentuations right there and also all over the car. And this special paint was included in the launch edition. It's called Emozioni Blue or Blue Emozioni Matte in this case. You can still get a normal Blue Emozioni, but not the matte finish, which we have here today. This was reserved for the launch edition. Yeah, maybe at the later stage. But interesting that this blue was taken from the flag of Bologna. Yeah, there's a nice story behind it. And overall the design, of course, here in the front of the Levante has this very strong front grille with the vertical fins and the Maserati trident, in this case in 2D because they hide the sensors for the assistance systems behind it. The length is 5 meters, 16'4" or 197 inches, and special for the Trofeo version you can also get 22-inch wheels, also possible for the GTS model. A usual Levante would start at 18-inch wheels, and then of course trim by trim they get bigger, and this one here the maximum tire choice available. Of course at some point you also lose some comfort. Then it's a little bit stiffer or sportier from the ride. In this case it also fits to the Trofeo, and we'll later find out what about this riding comfort. It comes standard with an adaptive air suspension, and here in the Trofeo it has a sportier setup, and especially when you go to this Corsa mode, we'll explain to you later, then also the suspension drops down a little bit more to give you an even sportier ride. Also bigger brakes in here than typical Maserati design elements at the side, and this beautiful matte color. I just really love that one. And since this one is also, you know, this emotional style car, also has frameless doors. That's also very important, and actually over 50% of the Maserati sold worldwide are now Levante. So yes, Maserati is meanwhile, so to say, an SUV brand, and there will also be a smaller SUV coming up in 2021. So what you're thinking about the design, of course, very strong shoulders right there, and the Maserati trident has the Trofeo badging here also. This is another small special design element for this version. Getting close to the car here today. The Trofeo has like an underscore under the Levante badge here, so just minor design elements they play with here. Overall a rather round shape and big signature here for the LED lamps in the rear. Front LED, by the way, also standard. And then again those carbon fiber elements for the Trofeo version here in the lower spoiler, and those exhausts. There are actually 4 exhaust pipes, but the outer tips are beauty tips, the real ones are on the inside. And now the moment has come. Ta-da! There it is, that's powering the thing. Usually you would get a 3-liter V6 diesel or a 3-liter V6 petrol for the Levante. This one here, for the GTS and the Trofeo, you can get the 3.8-liter V8 twin-turbo engine. And according to the red color, you might know where this one is getting built. Yes, it's in Italy, and yes, it's at Ferrari. So Maserati says they developed the engine, but they let Ferrari build it then. Here with the Trident logo right there. Also, oh, I won't touch it because it's quite hot. And carbon fiber cover, so beautiful integration also. And it looks quite Ferrari-ish too. What do you think? Acceleration figures are 4.1 seconds for the Trofeo or 4.3 seconds for the GTS. That's from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, so pretty impressive as for that. Always made into an 8-speed automatic gearbox and an all-wheel drive permanent one with a strong rear-wheel bias. In the special Corsa mode, even more rear-wheel biased here for the Trofeo. And to have the horsepower numbers a little bit split, this one here, the Trofeo, 580 horsepower, whereas the GTS, which we have right there with more vehicle color accentuations, 530 horsepower. So base V8 engine for both of those versions, but then 50 horsepower difference. One thing I like most about Maserati is their key fob design. It's, you know, somewhat heavy and therefore also feels premium. Then you have the touchable Trident in there. Of course, not those side stickers. That's just for the test vehicle. They can open and close right there pretty easy. And I mean, it just feels good, the whole key fob. Keyless entry, of course, available. You close the car right there with pressing this knob, or you can hold your hand on the inside to open it. And then again, doors closing sound, which is not the best one because we have those emotional non-frame doors. That's one downside of coupes or convertibles then, or those coupe style cars with no frames around. Then the door closing sound is not as good. But this one here, by the way, also dual insulation glass. You can, you know, see it in between. Always hard to catch on camera, but it's like 2 layers of glass right there to give you good insulation on the inside. Inside of the doors, you can also have the carbon fiber, and then here special for the Trofeo. And there's no cover above it, so you can really touch it. Really nice. Then we have a brown interior. In this case, you can pick different colors. Then the Trofeo also features this perforated steering wheel at the side, huge shifting pedals, and special for Maserati is that they are not connected to the steering wheel. They remain at the same place. It's a matter of preference, which one is better. Some, you know, argue that's better. Others argue it's better to have it as a steering wheel. Yeah, there might be a discussion about that. You start the car here left next to the steering wheel, however. Soon more details about the instruments. The seats, they look actually quite cozy. Here also in the brown trim, also other colors are available. Sadly, Maserati does not offer any alternatives to animal skin yet from the price list, but you can also ask some alternatives for the, you know, over the individualizing program. Of course, manufacturers need to move for animal-free materials, which are also more sustainable. However, they also have some cool handcraft going on. For example, here at the top of the seats, they have a Trofeo stitching then on the head restraint. And I like to have those details. Getting inside is, of course, very easy, as we have this SUV, full-size SUV, upright seating position, pretty cozy, pretty comfortable, definitely more comfortable than a Maserati sports car. That's why more and more Maserati customers go for the Levante. I'm 1.86 m or 6'1", and that leaves me still some headroom, no problem, even though this one here is equipped with the glass roof. So you can also call it panoramic roof because it even goes all the way over the vehicle with this shade you can open and that leaves some light in. But at the moment it's pretty wet outside, so if I would open it now, we would have an all-wet interior definitely. The seats with the electric controls, however, those buttons here, they are a little bit cheaply done, so this doesn't resonate to the price of the car, definitely. Steering wheel, gladly it's electric. Right there, you can also adjust it up and down and so on. And yeah, so far I can also imagine a longer motorway ride with this one here. Interior overview, everything is quite voluminous and sensual, emozioni, the Italian would say. Also with this beautiful analog clock in the top part. You cannot see it that well, but you know, analog clock in a luxury car, why not? Then again, this very, really huge steering wheel, again with the fixed shifting pedals, but they give you nice feedback. That's cool. Smaller digital screen here in the middle part. That's, however, like the Fiat Corporation style, so it doesn't look that, that premium as for the software visualization. Right side analog, RPM meter, left side analog speedometer. Left side of the steering wheel, you control the cruise control, and on the right side you can control the inside of the screen. Then this middle screen, 8.4 inch, you can see here Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is working, here also with the new iOS version, for example. And let's also listen to some music. Let's see, what about that sound right there? You can also use here the volume knobs behind the steering wheel. It's also nice to use, and yeah, that's nice surround sound from this Bowers & Wilkins system. Sounds also, you know, quite rich. Nice. Always like to test it with my trance music, of course. Great song. Yeah, can also recommend it. So let's go back to the main menu. This is the way you can get right there, and then to the Maserati menu. So it has been updated recently, but you can see it's rather old school as for the visualization. You can get a heated steering wheel, for example, and the climate control is right there. You can also control it right there manually still. That's good at least. So let me turn it on that you can see it. Here we go. So both ways are actually possible, but you know, it's of course better to do it, you know, right there, especially while driving. And in the lower part, what's interesting is in the front here, you can slide that one open like this, and then you have the phone connection there for the CarPlay with the USB port. Then the sporty shifting lever with the Maserati logo, and those driving modes, for example, for off-road, raising the air suspension up, ICE's rather drawn back power for slick conditions, and Sport and Corsa. And this Corsa mode is especially for the Trofeo, getting back the ESP, it only remains at about 20%. Then also shorter shifting times and more power, automatic transmission and everything, suspension goes lower, everything fitted for the sporty driving, and also launch control is possible then. And on the right side here we have another opening for the cup holders. They are not that adaptive, and this opening and closing function is pretty peculiar. And this is indeed like not non-glass covered or non-lacquer covered carbon fiber. You can really feel it. It's a special thing that came out this year. And you can also control the air suspension here individually. And last but not least, you have this knob there where you can also control the infotainment system while driving, for example, and another volume knob on the top. And then we have this split opening from the armrest right there, and well, for some candy and whatsoever, but there's no additional USB slot there. And one more close-up, there you can see here the climate control, here also for the heated steering wheel when the engine is running, for example. And here how the CarPlay is being integrated, there you almost used all of the screen. However then, the sat-nav, yeah, that's something where they really need to work on. So again, this software version is not something you would say like you really like that. So yeah, software update wise, it looks like in any Fiat 500. That's one of the problems here, and when you buy such an expensive vehicle, you might want to have something more. You can activate or deactivate the lane keeping assist, for example, if you don't like that, and also access your meter once again. But most of the time then, especially with this infotainment system, you will use the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto anyway. Rear view camera right here, fake roaming from above through the surround cameras, and here, yeah, some raindrops at the moment annoying us, but the resolution indeed could be a little bit better for the rear view camera, but it does the job definitely. You can see here the helping lines also adjust when you turn them. Favorite feature of Holger and me today here, by the way, here this Alcantara ceiling that brings so much coziness in the interior, and also just you like to hug the ceiling. What about the interior space that is left? First of all, design-wise, the same as we have in the front, also with the carbon fiber here, then also soft touch, some leatherette at the inside of the doors. And then, well, you see there is some space left. I mean, it's also a long car, definitely. Some white contour stitches on the seats. And let me take a seat right there. When I would be driving as a tall passenger, I still have some legroom left. Well, I would be wonder if it's not the case, but you can see it's not the best package. So considering the length of the vehicle, there should be more legroom. Of course, the hood is very long to also, for example, fit the V8 engine. So there's not enough legroom right there, considering the length of the car, I would say. You still have an upright seating position here in the rear. Headroom also works for tall people, so you can still make yourself quite comfortable in here. You can also adjust the back part of the seats a little bit in the angle. make it more upright or a little bit more further behind. And that's also the way you would flip the seats totally for the trunk, we're soon going to show you. Isofix are actually hidden right there inside. The middle seat is also usable theoretically. You sit a little bit higher. You hit your head on the ceiling then, so that's maybe just for, you know, temporary use. In the middle armrest, you can flip it down, have some cup holes. They are, let's say, a little bit adaptive at the outside parts. That's also the place for the ski hatch. And then in the middle console right there, you have another climate unit. That's basically it for, you know, temperature up and down and so on. And in the top part, you have 2 more USB chargers, USB-A. Should you have wondered, by the way, about the number plates, those are temporary Italian number plates. Let's open the hatch. So that's an advantage of the Maserati Levante. If you compare it to Maserati true sports cars, you can still use it as a primary vehicle. Oh, some more Italian number plates below that. And then let me give you some measurements of the trunk here, because the length is actually quite limited, just a little bit more than a meter, but the width is also here a little bit more than a meter, so that's actually then well usable. However, the height right there, less than 40 centimeters, that's not quite much. And here below the cover, that's actually quite normal, 45 centimeters approximately. And then you can also flip the seats. I've done it right there. You have to go around. Cannot flip the seats from here, but then of course in a 1/3, 2/3 split. You can also, for example, just open the ski hatch. Hey there, just, you know, on demand. Right there. There it is, you know, the hatch to close, the button right there. It's in the inside of the trunk, so not at the top hatch. Very interesting. And when you press it, it takes, you know, about 4 seconds, and then the hatch is closing. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Maserati Levante Trofeo. I hope my Italian accent is good today, or Italian friends from Autogefühl, best greetings, mille grazie. So, and of course, you know, since we're in Germany today, we want to head out to the motorway. We have to be a little bit careful today because we have slippery conditions, but then we can also test out actually if this car really has a rear wheel bias from the all-wheel drive. Yeah, we'll see about that. So, I have driven this car here, the Levante, before in the, let's say, weaker engine versions. Of course, first time here today with the V8, and when you're just rolling here straight, you feel, yeah, you know, you have a little bit stiffer suspension and so on. That's what you immediately feel. The 22-inch wheels, they are also a little bit stiffer, I know, when you're going over some bumps and so on, so that's a difference. But other than that, it feels, you know, normal Maserati Levante. Have this upright seating position, full grown-up full-size SUV. To the front is also actually quite good view. To the rear, of course, design-wise, somewhat limited, but you can still see the rear window here, so you're also fine with that. However, there is also blind spot monitor. I think we can see it flashing quite soon when we also go onto the motorway. The main difference, of course, is not only stiffer suspension, but of course the engine power and the sound. And when you're, for example, in this ICE mode, increased control and efficiency modes, that's, you know, what it stands for, then it's, you know, rather calm, reduced throttle input, for example. Yeah, that might be weather conditions for that, or especially, you know, when it's like really ice and snow and so on. Oh, those bumps, they get really rough then here with the stiffer suspension and the 22-inch wheels. Off-road then would put the air suspension up, and then there's the sport mode, and this already boosts up the sound. You maybe also hear that on camera, so that's immediately saying like, come on, take me. And also nice here for the next, there's the blind spot monitor here, also in the side mirrors. The Corsa mode I'm not going to use here on the motorway, not in slippery conditions, because that's really reducing all the ESP systems or ESC systems, and yeah, that's not even hammering the throttle all the way through. So definitely more sound here from the sport mode, and that's also enough here. So we're already a little bit lower as for the air suspension, and we get a little bit more response, and I can always use the shifting pedals to go down or up myself. Hold the shifting pedal to go back to the automatic mode, and this nice metal feedback I always get. I'm personally a fan that the shifting wheels are rather on the steering wheel, because then sometimes when you steer, you have to pay attention that you always keep your hands close to the steering wheel, that you don't get interfered with the fixed metal stuff there. So have to pay attention to that. And now in the sports mode, the car still shifts up, but it shifts down faster. For example, when I'm doing a kick down here now, here it showed me now exceed the warning. It's like a speed warning. It was there, therefore you couldn't see it counting up. So yeah, wow, that's really impressive for the acceleration. So now the left lane is stacking up just a little bit. Wow. I think I'm gonna put on the AC. Some wipers. Whew. Wow. So yeah, sound-wise, I think this V8 makes a big difference to the V8. That's definitely like a different statement. And even more spontaneous, you can always use the shifting wheel, as I said, then you're a little bit better on the throttle and you're really getting pushed in the seat. So you can also, wow. So I could imagine going with this one on the tree. Yeah, Holger's also smiling. So it's obviously also a lot of fun as a co-driver. By the way, yes, we're always calling Autogefühl cameramen co-drivers. So definitely a nice motorway vehicle, and the standard Levante version is more set on a softer tone for, definitely more relaxing ride and so on. And this one here, then stiffer as for suspension, so you feel a little bit safer on the motorway. However, yes, you lose comfort, especially in combination with the 22-inch wheels. So that's definitely a question what you want. Yeah, maybe it could be a good compromise when you go for the V8 and stick with the 20-inch wheels. There are already some US customers asking for 23-inch wheels, but Maserati so far doesn't want to comply with that. So they say 22 is maximum here. Yeah, and I think it's also comfort-wise a nice decision. I also feel good that we are a little bit lower now from the air suspension, feel a little bit more connected to the road. Somehow I have to deactivate that speed limit warning. That's definitely getting on my nerves a little bit. So ACC can also be set here on the left side of the steering wheel, and the distance is kept to the car in front of us. That's definitely good for longer motorway rides. And we also feel that noise insulation is quite decent, definitely, so we don't have to raise my voice that much. The most thing you do hear is definitely this V8 sound. So you hear that more than any wind noise that's coming from the outside. Oh, road is getting a little bit drier now, so but I have to watch the traffic, of course. This is also one example where we have unlimited speed on the German motorway, but at the same time we have a lot of traffic, so yeah, have to pay attention to that. But what's really cool when you do a lane change, for example, also at higher speeds, the car remains super stable. You see there is no significant roll whatsoever. They don't have some anti-roll bars or something like those stabilizations, but because the air suspension is stiffer, that's also quite okay. Steering wheel here in the very, very low degree angles is a little bit numb, but then it increases here, but it feels a little bit arcade-alike, so not the most natural steering feeling as for my taste, but still it's a lot of fun. And I said that the steering is also a little bit big overall, but it also then somehow fits to the car, so then it's definitely okay. So traffic on this direction is a little bit too much for me, so what we're going to do now is getting off the motorway, switch it around and going back the other side, because the other side looks a little bit better. So that could be a good idea. Here, when you have set the turning indicator and you have a blind spot monitor activated, car next to you, then there's also an acoustic warning, so that's the next step here. There, you heard it again. And I squeeze myself in there now to get off. Oh, I love to look at this matte hood there on the front, also with those additional air outtakes. Really nice. So, and I want to give you the speed again, because we can actually also put the speedometer to mph. So you can also see an mph and all the kilometers per hour, but also mph acceleration. Yeah, brake feel could be a little bit more aggressive, so you really have to hammer the brakes. So we're getting past you now. Yeah, I think really, it's just would be important that they could hammer the brakes a little bit more. Oh, camo cars. So those are camo cars by Audi. Probably some e-tron something. So, or plug-in hybrid vehicles. So there were too many cars here on the left side. First go down here and then switch it around. So I don't have like a fixed route today. We just cruise around just a little bit. And yeah, I mean, sometimes that just feels a little bit, you know, free if you can cruise around here and there. So definitely this Trofeo version connects you more with car in the road. So there is a significant difference than, you know, after driving a little bit more to the base Levante, if you want that sportier ride. So if you're interested in the Levante overall and say like, you know, this exclusive Maserati feeling and having a car that no one else has, well, like just few other people have, but you want the most comfort, if that's the most important thing to you, then you would stick with the V6 or the V6 diesel. Say like, you know, engine sound is not the most important for you. But here, if you say like you want an alternative to a Cayenne Turbo, for example, you want a really sporty setup for that, that could be something. So normal mode, by the way, you can activate it if you just press the sports mode twice. You can also hear the difference in the exhaust note then as well. Like the indicator here for the RPM meter also has a red top there. That's pretty nice. And for the sound, it's of course good when you accelerate when it's getting uphill. And here I'll accelerate out of the corner from standstill, and that will also tell us something more about the you know, the all-wheel drive, for example. Yeah, and that's the reason I'm not using the Corsa mode here, because that was sports mode, and you can see here rear wheel bias of the all-wheel drive, sports mode. There was still some ESC in actually, and the thing is, if I would have the Corsa mode, there's even less stability control, and then, you know, you could actually really make a power slide. So yes, that proves this all-wheel drive does have a rear wheel bias, definitely. So the Germans try to keep it calm and collected, also with their sporty SUVs. So try to make like a perfect setup and perfect balance and handling. And you know, some of the British performance SUVs or the Italians, they sometimes say like, what the heck, perfect balance and what's so on? Let's make it aggressive. Let's make it, you know, give it more emozioni. And I think that's exactly what we've seen here. Something like that you wouldn't have seen with a Porsche Cayenne Turbo, you know, because it is, you know, some more better balance and the, you know, the ESC setup and so on, even in the sports mode for better traction. But here actually that's probably also what you want, to have this difference to, you know, this more aggressive feeling you have right here. And now we have a Freeway, and I have set it now on mph, miles per hour, that for, especially for our friends in the US, and we go from 80 to, let's see how far we come. What the hell? That's 150 miles per hour, that's, yeah, 230 kilometers per hour. Wow. Yeah, I think we kind of heard that Ferrari builds this engine, right, Holger? Yeah, for Holger's also, you know, has been watching Formula 1 for like a couple of decades, and of course also somewhat a Ferrari enthusiast then for F1. This feels a little bit Formula 1 like, at least from the sound. So yeah, very interesting. Now I've switched it over again to kilometers per hour, especially for German fans. And the car really remains very stable right here. So again, don't use the Corsa mode on you know, normal public roads. Sports mode is already sportier than anything. And here 200 kilometers now up, noise insulation is still quite up. Car feels good. As for the handling, stable also on the road. So pretty relaxed then, so to say. Yeah, those uneven bumps on the road, they make it a little bit less comfortable in this suspension and wheel size setup. And again, yeah, the steering setup in the very few, you know, very close degree angles, when it's straight, that could be a little bit improved. So if some Maserati engineers are listening, but wow, this is some performance experience, and it's really something else than the German performance SUVs. It's maybe not as perfect, but it's definitely more emotional than those rather perfect German performance SUVs, even though they also have good sound and so on. But yeah, that sound is something else, and also this, you know, more aggressive feeling. But you've seen it. I mean, you should, at least when you use the sport mode, you should have some experience, or like, you know, take it step by step, you know, that you know what's happening, that you know, can control the car and so on. So when you go for this car, have some car experience, or then start it with the normal mode and step by step learn the car first. So that's, you know, very important then for safety. I also see in the display that it says like Aero 1, Aero 2. So according to the speed, the car is adjusting the height of the air suspension. So as we were going really fast, it was going lower and lower and lower. So now we're getting off the motorway again, because I want to, you know, also talk about more about the features of the motorway, definitely. I think it was a good decision to take the other direction here on the motorway once again. That was, yeah, more easily moving around. By the way, funny for me to see the mph figures then when accelerating, because you sometimes lose the feeling, you know, because in your brain it's like you see like 100, and it's like, oh, that's only 100 kilometers. But 100 mph is like something else, you know. So, but your brain doesn't cope with that fast, so you have to get used to it at first. But it's funny, and of course good for an international car reviewing format like we do, with people from all over the world watching. By the way, we have some Germans sometimes asking like, why are you talking English, Thomas? Yeah, because 7 billion people don't talk German. That's an easy question, definitely. So I get on the right now. That's good when cruising around freely. Oh, that's a bad decision. You have to go all the way back. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's really emotional when at any point you can just hit the throttle and then it goes bam all the way. Wow. Now Countryside Road, whoa, that's some serious traffic building up there. Sometimes you just want to, you know, shift back and then have some fun. And yeah, fuel consumption is of course astronomical, especially if you move the car as I just did. So that's also not something, I mean, I wouldn't drive that way just in everyday driving life. It's more like giving you a sample here of what's possible with the car in this car review. Usually I'm a rather calm driver, and you know, when I'm just moving the car around every day and so on. So at the moment, yeah, we're about 22 liters on 100 kilometers. Yeah, about that. And I mean, what we could do is also go back and then to normal mode, reset the fuel consumption, and then see, you know, what's actually happening. You know, when we keep it rather steady, just to give you an idea of what could possibly be going on or something. So now a little steady. We can also set the cruise control. But again, you know, you have a lot of weight carrying around with you. Have to be aware of that. And it's also this big engine. It is also fuel consuming. Not always downsizing is the best choice, but we found in a lot of tests that V6 engines are actually quite good, quite often for a low fuel consumption when they are right sized then for a car. So it doesn't make much sense to put a 2-liter 4-cylinder in such a big car, because, you know, it would, you know, run on high RPMs all the time. Okay, now we're going uphill, but yeah, even when resetting the fuel consumption, it's always driving to more and more and more. And even if you say, yeah, you know, don't care about money, don't care about the environment, at some point it's also, you know, maybe just getting on your nerves a little bit, because you're always at the fuel station, no matter what you do. So that can also be a critical point. It's also one of the reasons why customers in Europe, especially in Germany, actually went for Levante diesels, because they just can go, you know, longer kilometer runs, don't have to care so much about refueling the car up and so on. So that, you know, might be a reason for that. But then again, sound-wise, of course, even though you have a sound actuator in a diesel, the sound of the petrol engine will always be better. Here now, I want to experience some corners. So when I have the steering wheel turned here, I think I also have, you know, good response then from suspension and the steering setup. That's good. We can also do some slalom right here then now. and that's really decent. So the car feels really much connected. And if you think about some Maserati sports cars, here in this Trofeo setup, yeah, we have to watch about for speed cameras. So here in this Trofeo setup, you will not miss any Maserati low-sitting sports cars because, you know, the chassis is being kept upright. You have this very sporty driving characteristic. Again, the base version of the Levante is more to enjoy, also relax on long motorway rides and so on. This one here also then to be able to attack everything. And now to our conclusion for today with the Maserati Levante Trofeo. Whereas the base Maserati Levante is more like a, you know, cozy motorway cruiser, soft suspension setup from the air suspension, and, you know, running straight, you know, nice and calm. This one here is rather the sports car approach, suspension-wise, bigger wheel-wise, especially then when you have this combination and the whole driving feeling. And of course, this roaring sound from this V8, it always sends you in attack mode, especially in the sports mode, which, especially when the road is a little bit wet, you have to enjoy with care, definitely. So yeah, be very careful with this car. It's one of the very few SUVs that are really, really aggressive. And that's also what sets this one here apart from the competition. Maybe even possible for track use then with this Corsa mode. Interior, they lack animal skin alternatives, and the build quality should be also a little bit better considering the price you pay, because when you think about 80k euros, for example, in Germany for a base Maserati Levante, and this one here can, including extras, even reach double the price. So around 150k for those new V8 versions, always something like that. And that's, of course, you know, really, really high in pricing. Yeah, Porsche Cayenne Turbo is also somewhat similar in pricing then. Difference would be that the Cayenne is more set on the perfection in handling, and this one more on this pure aggressiveness. What do you think? Please discuss this car here. And of course, yeah, the last thing, fuel consumption is, I mean, it's even hard to measure the fuel consumption because it's so high. So you have to bear that in mind definitely for the V8 version. So for your fleet, maybe then the V6 or V6 diesel might be the more clever choice, and of course also the more, you know, conscious choice overall. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hope you liked this episode. Please share your opinion about this vehicle. Also tune into our other Maserati Levante review and also to the competitor product of this car. We will also link some video links in the description as always, that you can enjoy even more Autogefühl. See you next time.